as honestly as I know how. Broken by the days gone by, Spirit held my soul to rise. I try my best, but still I fail. And even then you're with me there. You remind me I'm a child of God, regardless of the things I've done. Oh, my hope is found in perfect love. Your mercy triumphs over judgment. Love wider than horizons, stronger than ocean. Lord, your kindness leads us to repentance, unto the heart of God. Your heart, oh. Is all I want. Oh, they say that it's impossible to ever save a sinner's soul, but my God says to the prodigal, my beloved one, you're welcome home. Oh, your
Hello and welcome to Crews Live. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Andy, and wherever you are tuning into Crews Live tonight, we are so pleased that you are joining us. I just need to let you know a couple of things before we get started. The first is if you are under 13, YouTube says you have to have a parent or guardian watching with you. They're not my rules, they're YouTube, so make sure that you have got. The second thing is that nobody from Lifecentral Youth will ask for your personal details, so please do not share any of your personal details on the live chat. We will send you links that you can fill out so that we can be in touch with you. And the third thing is this: the live chat is there for engagement, for fun. It is not there to cuss each other down and to discourage, but we want you to encourage each other, encourage what's going on live on the screen. Get involved, let's have fun together. Lifecentral Youth is a family, and if you're not familiar to us, you are welcome as part of the family tonight. We're really pleased that you are with us. We're going to get started in a few minutes. We hope you enjoy Crews Live.
Hello and welcome to Crews Live. We are super excited to be hanging out with you. My name is Harvey.
Be with you guys tonight, and you joining us online wherever you are joining us from. This might be your first time here joining us, or you might have been here for several weeks throughout this season, but we are so glad that you could join us. Myself and Harvey, we are both youth leaders as part of Lifecentral Youth.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. If you don't know what that is, essentially Lifecentral Youth is the young people part of the church.
Come on, Lifecentral Youth, what a place to be. So tonight you have joined us for Crews Live, which is our online YouTube event. And so we will be hanging out with you here for about 45 minutes. In that time, we will have a few guests with us. We will have Tim Alford from Limitless Festival. So if you've been to that, you'll know who he is. So we are so excited to have him speak to us tonight. And we are also joined by a guy called Linz West. Now, Linz is part of a band called LZ7 who tour all over the place. They are awesome guys to hang out with. And so we are super excited to hang out with him as well.
But we're also excited to hang out with you guys because we have a chat function. So throughout the whole of tonight, you guys can be engaging in the chat with each other and with us as well. And just to get things started, we want to know, what is your favourite emoji? Put it in the chat, share it with everyone there. Harvey, what's your favourite emoji?
Do you know what? I took a lot of thought to this because I was thinking, I don't know what my favourite emoji is, but I think I've come to a decision. I think, you know the one where it's like this?
Weighty.
You know, like a surfer dude.
I think I've started doing this more in real life since I used it as an emoji.
Yeah, like no one walks around doing this. It's just weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that sometimes.
Huh. Whereas I think mine is between the poo emoji, the laughing face emoji, and the peace sign.
ridiculous.
All three. I use them regularly. All the time. Far too many times.
I mean, I don't even have anything to say to that.
Wow, there we go. Like we said, put them in the chat. We want to know, what are your guys' favorite emojis? Share those and interact on the chat throughout tonight. But without further ado, we'd love to invite one of our guests on stage, wouldn't we?
Yes, we would. Tonight we are going to welcome the incredible, the amazing, the one and only Timothy Alford from Limitless.
Woo!
Hey guys, hey everybody, hey Lifecentral
Hey.
You, great to be here.
How many people, just by clarification, call you Timothy rather than Tim?
Zero. Nobody
Zero.
calls me, not even my mum when she's cross. Nobody
So
calls me
just
Timothy.
Harvey calls
Yeah,
you Timothy.
just me.
But you can, pet name, fine, it's fine. You're
great.
welcome to call me Timothy.
Now, we are aware that for loads of the guys who are watching this, they may never have seen your face before.
Yeah.
So for those of them who have never met you before, seen your face, or heard of you, please spend 20 seconds introducing yourself to them.
Okay, yeah, well, hey Lifecentral Youth, my name's Tim. I live in Malvern, not too far from where we are right now. I live there with my wife Jen, my 2 kids, Tobiah and Aria, and I've got the huge privilege of leading a ministry called Limitless, which is the national youth ministry of Elim churches right across the UK.
Very nice.
Incredible. We are so excited to have you with us
Ah, it's
tonight.
great to be here. Great to be here.
Almost called you Tom, man. First Timothy, now Tom.
You're
just
just
whatever,
grown
whatever you want.
I just make up my own names. It's
whatever
easier.
you want.
So tonight we are going to play a little bit of a game.
Right, let's do it.
Because I thought, well, we've got a guest with us and we've got Beth, and I like to embarrass Beth sometimes. And so I thought we'd play a little game called Guess the Gibberish. Now, if you are on Instagram, you might have seen this as like a filter, but we are going to play it in person tonight, which is going to be awesome. And so that involves these guys each having 30 seconds to guess as many gibberish phrases as possible.
All right.
Okay, so you will be competing against each other, and just to spice things up, I have added a little bit of a forfeit. Okay, so we have got here not just any hot chili sauce. This is sriracha. I can't even say it. Sriracha, super hot chili sauce. Oh my gosh, I'm not even doing the gibberish. Insane.
It's the gibberish game, so it's
hot
fine.
sauce.
Absolute gibberish. So we are super excited for that, but that forfeit is going to be on Zoom a bit later, and we'll explain how you get onto that in a bit, and we'd love for you to join us in that and see one of these guys drink some sriracha hot chili sauce, which is going to be awesome. So, Beth, would you like to go first?
I mean, I don't feel like I have a choice. Earlier when I heard about this game, I felt really confident. Now my heart's actually beating a little bit faster because I really don't want to have that hot sauce.
You were exactly right. You do not have a choice. So, Beth, if you would like to grab your cards just off the table.
They're sparkly. I don't know if anyone can tell at home, but they are sparkly. There we go.
Sparkly, incredible. So, Beth, you will have 30 seconds to answer as many correctly as
Okay.
possible. Does it make sense?
So what do I do when I've done them? Like chuck them on the floor?
Whatever you want.
Okay.
Anything.
Just throw them away. Get
Yeah,
rid of them.
whatever. So you have 30 seconds, okay? Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, we are going to have a countdown in 3, 2, 1, go.
It's upside down. Bumkin's pie slot day. Pumpkin pie slot day.
It's close.
Pumpkin's pie slot day. Pie slow day. I don't know.
I can hear it. Guys, if you're on the
Pumpkin's
chat,
pie.
comment what you think it is.
Pumpkin's pie slot day. Pumpkin pie slow day.
You can skip it. You can skip it.
Woo! I can skip. Hide scroll news cycle. Music. High School Musical.
Yes.
That's it, one.
Oh, what?
30 seconds
That is
is
so
up.
hard. It's outrageous.
Beth,
Whoa.
that is one answer correct
what
in
was the one
30
I skipped?
seconds.
Can I find out which one I skipped? Is that allowed? I want to know.
It is allowed, and I will tell you exactly what you skipped. It is Pumpkin Pie Slot Day, and so on the chat, comment if you think you know what it is, but I will give you the answer
I
now.
don't know what it is.
Do you know what it is?
No, I don't know what it
You
is.
don't know what it is. Tim don't know what it
I'm
is.
terrible at this game.
It is Pumpkin Spiced Latte.
Oh, so I got
Oh,
pumpkin.
man.
I got pumpkin. Did I get
I
half a
would
point? I
never
got
had that.
pumpkin.
I'm not having that.
I got
Just-
pumpkin pie. Oh.
It's okay, Beth. Stop crying. We'll move on.
Now,
Okay.
can I just clarify a rule, Harvey? Am
You
I
can.
allowed to pass?
You are allowed to pass. Yes.
Whoa.
There
This
might
wasn't
be a lot of-
actually explained to me until I spent
There
a
might be a
good
lot of
10
passing.
seconds on mine.
Okay.
outrageous.
Okay, Tim, are you ready? You will have 30 seconds when I finish counting down. Are you
I'm
sure
ready.
you're ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
What her mail in sugar? What her mail in sugar? Watermelon in sugar.
It's close enough. I'll give you that.
Okay,
I'll give you
yes.
that.
All lucky charm. A lucky charm? A lucky charm?
Yes, correct.
Fidget spinners. Fidget spinners.
Yes,
Woohoo!
10 seconds.
Stranger Things.
Yes.
Whee!
5, 4,
Lower
3,
Complete.
2,
Lower
1.
Complete. Lower.
Time is up.
Yes!
No, this is no. You gave him when it was nearly. I had pumpkin and I didn't get anything.
I mean,
Well,
you said
even if I
watermelon
don't get that
in
one, I
sugar.
still got more.
And I said pumpkin.
I still got more. Even if we count,
mean,
even if you discount that one, I still got more.
Okay, because so here's an added thing. Harvey, I don't know if I can do this, but if you'd rather Harvey have the hot sauce in place of me as a tribute volunteer,
no
put
way.
it in the chat now and
Nobody
save
is
me
putting
tonight.
that in the chat.
This
That's ridiculous.
I mean, it looks hot. That's all. That's all. Oh,
I cannot wait to watch
Oh,
you drink
gosh.
hot sauce, Beth.
I don't
It's
want
going to be
to.
incredible.
That is not going to be nice, Beth.
Amazing.
That
Thank
is
you
not-
guys for joining us for the game. Tim, we are so excited to have you with us.
I'm even more excited to be here than I was a few moments ago.
I
Harvey.
am less excited.
Pumpkin.
Oh, I know.
There we go. Cool. So, guys, we will be doing that forfeit a bit later on Zoom. So after we finish on YouTube, we will be heading over to a Zoom call where all of Life Central Youth and any of you guys watching, whether you've been to Life Central Youth or not so far, we would love for you to join us and to see that forfeit. We'll be hanging out for a little while on Zoom, and we'll tell you a bit of how to do that at the end. But we are excited to have you.
But if you would like Harvey to do it instead, please put it in the chats and save me, thank you.
Oh,
But now we are going to go to Andy, who is our lead youth pastor, who's going to be doing an interview with our other guests tonight. So over to our second studio of the evening, it's Andy.
Thank you very, very much, Beth. And I'm so delighted that you are doing that chili sauce challenge, can I just say. I am so excited to join with us a very, very good friend of mine. His name is Linz West. He is from LZ7. Linz, it's good to have you with us.
What's going on, man? How are you?
Yeah, good. Mate, you are in your car. Why are you in your car?
Because I've got a VW transporter and I've decided to come surfing for a few days with my little boy. So I just rammed the VW and we're down here in Cornwall just catching some waves.
Mate, amazing.
As you can tell from my super burnt skin, check that.
I mean, you are a little bit red in the face, mate. So you're
Yeah, mate, I feel it. Feel it.
We are cutting into your holiday, aren't we, right now?
Only a little bit, man. No, it's all good. It's all good. I am going to stick around and watch that girl. I can't remember her name. Is it Beth?
Yeah.
That chili sauce. So her face goes redder than mine. I'll be happy about that.
Oh, that'd be so good. Mate, just tell us what LZ7 is, what you do, how we can follow LZ7.
Yeah, so I'm in a band called LZ7. When we're not in lockdown, I go in between about 80 and 100 high schools every year. So that's the kind of like the kind of high school side of it. And then I go on tour with like some mainstream artists. So just before lockdown, we'd secured a tour with the Chainsmokers, and we're looking at going on tour with the Script. So we do all that, but the whole message over both of those things is taking the life-changing message of Jesus to young people through music. So creating a platform through music just to say, actually, you've got a hope. And especially in this like coronavirus thing, just saying, you know, we're in a really hopeless situation, and actually there's hope. And if you couple that with faith, you become a game changer. So that's it really, Andy. Like in a nutshell, I do lots of music. I'm a stupid Chef Ramsay looking white boy that just loves to party. And if people want to party with me and understand who Jesus is, then that's how we work. Does that make sense?
Amazing. So you talk mostly to people who wouldn't call themselves Christians, Jesus followers, people who aren't to do with church. You would talk mostly to those
100%.
guys. And have
100%.
you always been a church boy, Linz? Have you always been someone who would call yourself a Christian? Like, what's your journey been for you?
I mean, I guarantee there's probably hundreds of people that might be listening now that would say, you know, I've grown up in a Christian home. Like, I got it from an early age, and I think that's a really good thing. My parents were really kind to me, and at 14 said, look, if you want to make the choice yourself, make the choice yourself. If you don't. And I promise you, Andy, I must have become a Christian 100 times at least.
Wow.
The first time I did, I must have been 8, and someone said, look, there's a God that loves you for being you, and I said yes. The second time was when I was about 15, and there was a group of lads called the Power Team, and they were bodybuilders that came into West London where I was growing up, and they did this whole thing where they blew up hot water bottles, and this one guy got up and shared his story where he said, you know, one night he went out and he was called the Karate Kid before Karate Kid came along, and he beat up 40 blokes and put them all in hospital. And then he said, you know, Jesus did a number on his life. And I'm stood there with my mouth hit the floor. I was like, oh, that guy, he's a general. I want to hear about this. And he told me his story and said that Jesus softened his heart and made him kind and made him caring and all this. And I was like, I want to know who this Jesus is. So I gave my life to Jesus again. Now I've done that, like I said, like 100 times since. But when I'm in school and I'm sharing this, you know, this message of hope for young people, where we're getting like self-harm blades handed in, and kids have got no place that they can cut anymore, and they're handing in their compasses and they're handing in their self-harm blades. And at the end of week show, you're getting suicide notes handed in and self-harm blades and knives. And we do a peacemaker thing where we're turning, you know, handed in knives from inner cities into gyms, so we can train young people to become hench. Instead of the knife going one way, we're sending it another. That to me is a message of hope, and I learnt that from probably 15 years of age. Wow. And I just thought, if I was told that one time in school and I went to a gig where this guy got up and really impressed me, I was like, I want to do the same for young people, and I want to give them the opportunity, like that bloke gave me, to know Jesus and know this hope. And we see hundreds of thousands of young people each year respond to Jesus and say they want to know who he is. So, wow. And that's just out of a message of hope where you know they're really desperate and really, you know, really hurting. And we see arms healed, we see scars disappear, we see suicide notes, suicides turned back on, and it's just it's an incredible thing. And if there's anyone out there struggling with that stuff, please make sure you talk to someone and tell someone, and at the same time know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and there's a God that loves you for being you. That's the whole message.
That's amazing, and that's the message we want everybody who's tuning in tonight to hear, really, that Jesus loves you, and no matter what situation you find yourself in, God can reach into that pit and bring you out and bring hope into your life. Linz, just really, really briefly, like, tell us, what's the difference you've seen Jesus make in young people's lives?
I mean, we're in a school in New Zealand, and the teacher came up and she said, look, I've Googled LZ7, I know what you do, so I like it, it's positive. And we started in prison, Andy, like I started going into young offenders' prisons. And to see the look on people's faces when the music comes on, they suddenly go from like death to like, whoa, what the heck was that? And, you know, they start backflipping and breakdancing at the back and stuff. Anyway, this teacher shuts down and said, no God, because I've heard you guys are Christians. And I was like, oh, cool, miss, no worries. So I get to the point in the lesson and I said, look, life's a roller coaster. It's going to throw you a curveball. It's going to leave you hanging upside down, dangling in the wind, and it's going to be tough. The secret to life are these 3 words: never give up. As I said that, this girl with this bright pink red hair stuck her head against the slide and started to sob. So I give her a free ticket to the show, Andy. She comes down that night in Christchurch, and 3,500 kids turn up. And 100 feet from the stage, all I can see is Christchurch Arena. I can just see red hair staring, looking at me. And as I get to that point in the show, I said, look, life's going to throw you a curveball. It's going to leave you hanging upside down. But these 3 words, never give up, because Jesus, out of love, took the punishment first. This girl started to cry her eyes out. I said he took all the slashes, 39 slashes on his back, so you don't have to cut. This girl starts to sob. You know, she cried so hard she made a makeup beard around her face. So I sent our security guard into the crowd, bring her to the side of the stage, find her, she's got red hair, you'll see her. Come to the side of the stage, and all I can see is a silhouette of her. And I come off stage dripping with sweat because our stuff's kind of high energy. And I was like, yo, are you all right? She goes, nah, you've messed up my plans. I'm like, what do you mean I messed up your plans? Like, we've just been hanging, man. This is amazing. You know, and the next band was on, all the pyros are going off. I said, what are you on about? She said, no, you don't understand. You came in my school on Wednesday. And I went home that night and I looked in my diary and I'd set a date to jump off the roller coaster of life. And I said, when was that? And she says, tonight after the show. I said, what does that look like to a year 9? This is like a 13-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid. She gets out she puts her hand in her pocket. She gets out 160 pills. And she gets out 2 blades and then pulls her sleeves up to show me where she'd cut. There wasn't one piece of skin left that she shouldn't cut. And she had 2 suicide notes, one for mum and one for dad. She turns and rolls it up and she puts it in my hand and she says, but you've told me that I've got a plan and a purpose and that I've got a future, so I'm not going to do it. drops it into my hands. 3 months later, she sends me an email. She says, I'm still here. I've got involved in the local youth group, a little bit like what you do, Andy. She said, they treat me with a bit of respect. They love me for being me. 6 months later, 9 months later, another email comes in. She says, I'm going into rehab, into counselling. 3 years ago, that was, Andy. So this time last year, I walked into a school in New Zealand, and the teacher comes up and she says, yo, Lind, no God, yeah? And I was like, cool, miss, you know, no worries. And I remembered the school, and I'm with some year 10s, and I look down, there's this little lad that can't even lift his eyes above the screen. He can't even look in the eye. So I walk over to him, and I give him a free ticket to the show that night. Next to him is this girl, blonde hair, blue eyes, pretty. She's got her arm around him. And I look at him, and I'm like, yo, you're with the girl, man. That's amazing. Check this. And she goes, and she says, no. Linz, do you remember me? And I was like, what? And she says, it's Caitlin. I said, Caitlin. And I'm racking my brain thinking, Caitlin. I'm like, nah, you're the girl with the red hair. She says, yeah, you came in my school 3 years ago. And I said, oh, you're chilling with your boyfriend? She goes, no, Linz, don't get it twisted. I'm in year 13 now. I'm part of the pastoral care system that's taking the year 10s through the same stuff that I went through when I was in year 10. I'm his mentor.
Amazing. I
literally, my face welled up. I started to tear. And she said, I've been in church. I've been looked after by youth groups. She said, my parents split up and the tough times I went through, but you showed me who God was. And I've decided to become part of the change instead of part of the problem.
Wow.
That's like God doing something in someone's life.
That is phenomenal story. And that's what we're about in Life Central Youth. That's why we're doing Crews Live tonight. And, you know, if any of what Linz has said there, particularly around self-harm and suicide stuff, if that's something that you struggle with and you want somebody to talk to, somebody on our youth team would love to chat to you about that and love to walk that through with you. So coming in the chat right now is a link. You can request a one-to-one with one of our leaders, and we would love to show you the hope that is Jesus, and we can talk you through that, and we can go on that journey with you like Caitlin has gone on. Linz, you are going to give us a little performance now. We're going to see one of your music videos. Why don't you introduce it, and then we can watch your music video.
So this single came out last week. It's called Sound of the Weekend, and I've done a little live kind of version for you. And it's everywhere at the moment. It's on Spotify playlists. It's on some of the biggest things going out there. And it's one of those songs that if you're feeling down and you're feeling like you're having a naff time in coronavirus and lockdown, this is one of those things to turn up and tell yourself, I'm going to get out of my seat and have a little bit of a bop to yourself like nobody's watching. It's called Sound of the Weekend, so I hope you enjoy this.
Wherever you are, grab your seats right now. Grab someone. Yeah. Whoosh. It's the sound of the weekend. Everybody get down to the deep end. Front to the back to the center. DJ drop the track, we go mental. It's the sound of the future. Everybody get down with the movement. Everybody from the left to the right. Everybody in the spot, put your hands to the sky. So we're 365, all day, every day, decent vibes. Got that Friday feeling, on to Saturday morning sleepings. Sunday, you know I'm a church boy. On Mondays come around quick and I keep putting in shifts, running my ship so I don't go blue like turquoise. It's the sound of the weekend. Everybody get down to the deep end. Everybody get down to the banger. Everybody inside, put your hands up. It's the sound of the weekend. LZ inside, tell them. Everybody outside of the building, inside jumping. Everybody welcome. We celebrate life in symphony. The medication's light in victory. Manchester sparking a buzz. London overseas charging it up. We about to blow this, yep, and it's all going off like a loaded set. It's the sound of the weekend. Everybody get down to the deep end. It's the sound of the weekend. Everybody get down to the deep end. Everybody get down to the banger. Everybody inside, put your hands up. It's the sound of the weekend. LZ inside, tell them. Everybody outside of the building, inside's jumping. Everybody welcome. Live my life. Live my life. I give it all I can. Where we will meet again. Live my life. No time. Everybody get down to the deep end. Everybody get down to the banger. Everybody inside, put your hands up. 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 Everybody outside the building, inside jumping. Everybody welcome. It's the sound of the weekend.
Hello, Lifecentral Youth. It is so good to be here with you online tonight. And if you're just tuning in for the first time because a friend invited you to tune into the stream tonight, or maybe you just came across it on YouTube, we want you to know that you are so welcome with us tonight. We are so pleased that you're here. And we don't only want you to be here tonight because next weekend, Friday and Saturday, 7th and 8th of August, it is Limitless Festival online, and we cannot wait. Go to limitlessfestival.co.uk to find out everything that's happening over the course of the weekend. Go to youtube.com/limitlesselim and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of the sessions. We're going to have an amazing time together at Limitless Festival online. So make sure you're there. Make sure your friends are there. Your mum's there. Your dad's there. Your cat's there. Your dog's there. Everyone's there. You're not going to want to miss it. Limitless Festival online, Friday, Saturday, next week, 7th and 8th of August. All right, I wanted you to start by picturing in your mind for me your brother or your sister. Maybe you're even sitting next to them right now on the sofa watching this from home, but if you're not, just picture them in your mind, and I want you to consider this question. What would it take for you to worship your brother or sister? Now, you can't actually answer me because we're not in the same room together, though you can put it in the chat if you want. But fortunately, with this question, we don't need to be in the same room because I already know your answer. Your answer is nothing. There is no amount of money in the world. There are no amount of favors. There's no amount of persuasion. There is absolutely nothing that could ever convince you to even consider worshiping your brother or sister as God. Now, I want you to hold that thought in your mind because we're going to come back to it a little bit later on. And while you spend a moment just reflecting on the horror of your sibling being your God, I wanted to share with you a stat that I heard only just recently. 1,000 young people were asked the question, was Jesus a real person who actually existed in history? And you know what? Only 53% of them said yes. And to be honest with you, I actually found that quite shocking due to the fact that there is more verifiable historical evidence for the life of Jesus than just about any other person who lived in antiquity. The fact is that there was never any debate in the ancient world about whether Jesus was a real historical person, and Jesus' death on the cross is undisputed amongst historians today. So really, this stat should have been 100% saying that Jesus was a real person who actually lived in history, because overwhelmingly, this is what the evidence says. And I can't help but wonder if part of the problem is that we talk about Jesus in RE, when I think we should actually be talking about Jesus in history, because without doubt, he is the most influential individual to have ever lived in global history. But however it is that we got to this point, if you had just a quick conversation with any serious historian, they would tell you that the evidence shows that there is not even the slightest hint or idea that Jesus was not a real historical person. The reason that Jesus is a controversial figure in history then is not because there was any kind of question about the reality of his life, but because of who he claimed to be. You see, Jesus, he went about making all these grandiose claims about himself. He would say things like, I am the resurrection and the life. He said things like, I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father, no one gets to God except through me. But perhaps most controversially of all, Jesus said this: the Son of Man, he was talking about himself, the Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men, and they will kill him, and on the third day he will be raised to life. Now this, friends, is kind of a big deal. And this is the reason why Jesus is a controversial figure in history, because you see, there have been countless other philosophers and teachers who, like Jesus, are accepted as real historical figures. But there's only one who predicted their own death and resurrection. So the big question for us then is not whether Jesus lived and died, because we know that to be true. The big question is whether Jesus died and lived. And this is a huge question. In fact, it is the question, because, you see, if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, then it means people like me and every follower of Jesus all around the globe, well, we're kind of wasting our time. But if he did, if Jesus really did rise from the dead, then surely everything that he said about himself, everything that he claimed about himself has to be true, and you and I have no other option than to worship Jesus as our God. So did he? Did Jesus actually predict his own death and resurrection and pull it off? Well, what does the evidence say? What do we know to be historically and verifiably true? Well, there's three things that we know to be true from history, and I want to tell you about them. The first one is that we know the tomb was empty. Jesus' tomb in which he was buried was found empty. How do we know this to be true? You may be wondering. Well, I'm going to tell you. Firstly, by something that people who study history call the criterion of embarrassment. Sounds a bit posh. It's a historical term. It's a way people study history, the criterion of embarrassment. And it means this, that an historical event is more likely to be considered as true, to be considered as something that actually happened, if it was embarrassing or inconvenient to the people who recorded that story. So, in this case, the case of the resurrection of Jesus, if this story was an invention of early followers of Jesus, then there is no way that they would have made the women who followed Jesus the first witnesses of Jesus' empty tomb, because in that day, the female testimony was considered worthless, and it wouldn't have been counted reliable. It wouldn't have held up in a court of law. I'm not saying that it's right, but that is how it was. And so, if they'd made the story up, they would certainly have placed the male followers of Jesus, Simon Peter and his friends, as the first witnesses, not Mary Magdalene and her companions. It's called the criterion of embarrassment. And second, it's important that we remember that the people in charge in Jerusalem where Jesus was crucified and buried, they were viciously opposed to Jesus and anybody claiming that he was raised from the dead. And think about it, they could have squashed the whole thing before it started simply by producing a body. But they couldn't. Why? Because Jesus' tomb was empty and his body was nowhere to be found. William Lane Craig, he says this: there is simply no plausible natural explanation today to account for Jesus' tomb being empty. If we deny the resurrection of Jesus, we are left with an inexplicable mystery. We know from history that Jesus' tomb was found empty. We also know about the post-resurrection appearances, that Jesus appeared to his followers after he was risen from the dead. How do we know this to be true? Well, there was a guy called Paul who himself, he encountered the resurrected Jesus. And about 20 or 25 years after Jesus' death, this guy, Paul, he wrote a letter to a church that met in a city called Corinth. And this is notable because this letter is what historians call a primary source for how we understand our history. And this is what he said in that letter. For what I received, I passed on to you as of first importance, that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised on the third day according to the scriptures, and after that he appeared to Cephas, and then to the 12, and after that, check this out, he appeared to more than 500 of the brothers and sisters at the same time. Now, this is an important point because Paul wants his readers to know that this was no hallucination of grieving followers of Jesus, because 500 people cannot have the same hallucination at the same time. He goes on. He says, most of them are still living. You can ask them, though some have fallen asleep. And then he appeared to James. We're going to come back to that. And then to all of the apostles. And last of all, he appeared to me. In other words, Paul is saying, if you don't believe me that Jesus was raised from the dead, there are about 500 and some other people that you can go and ask about it right now. And this is so important because you see, if you're trying to deceive someone, if you're trying to pull the wool over their eyes with a deliberate lie that you know all too well is not true, then you do not publicly invite people to examine the evidence. You just don't do that. And think about this. If Jesus claims, and the early church's claims about Jesus' resurrection was some kind of mass conspiracy theory, then why would all of the people who witnessed it continue to claim that truth until their death? And why would they actually die for the claim they were making? You know, Jesus' early followers that were closest to him, James, he was executed by the sword. Thomas and Matthew, they were speared to death for claiming that Jesus was raised from the dead. Philip and Bartholomew and Andrew and James and Thaddeus and Simon, all of them were crucified. Now, why would they all, to a man, have continued to claim that Jesus was risen from the dead if they just made it all up? It doesn't stand to reason. Maybe one or two of them would have continued to claim that under torture and under threat of death, but all of them? Really? The evidence for that doesn't work. And that's why the scholar Gerd Ludemann, he says this: it may be taken as historically certain that Peter and the disciples had experiences after Jesus' death in which Jesus appeared to them as the risen Christ. We know that Jesus' tomb was found empty. We know that Jesus appeared to his followers after his resurrection. And what else do we know to be true? We know about the explosive growth of the early church. And this one's really important. I'm going to explain to you why. There's an old movie, but it is a classic movie, so some of you may have seen it. And it's called Monty Python's Life of Brian. And it stars Brian, who in one of the most famously quoted quotes in all of pop culture history is, in fact, not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Now, whilst this movie can hardly be described as historically accurate, there is one thing that it did get absolutely right. And that is that people who were claiming to be the Messiah, the Savior, the sent one from God in first century Judea where Jesus lived, they were a dime a dozen. They were all over the place. And like Jesus, some of them preached. And like Jesus, some of them gathered followers. But unlike Jesus, you don't know their names. Unlike Jesus, you've never heard of these other people who claimed to be the Messiah. So what's the difference between Jesus and all of them? The difference is that when these so-called messiahs were killed by the Romans, they stayed dead. And so their followers went home and forgot all about it, realizing that they were wrong. After Jesus' death, however, the church grew rapidly, spreading across Jerusalem, into Judea and Samaria, and even reaching into the very ends of the earth. And all of this in spite of tremendous opposition and persecution. And still today, some 2,000 years later, there are billions of people in every continent of the globe who claim to have a personal relationship with this Jesus. And the only transformative event that can explain all of this evidence is that Jesus was risen from the dead. That Jesus was who he claimed to be, that he is the resurrection and the life, that he is the way and the truth and the life, and that no one comes to the Father except through him. I want just one more thing. At the start of our time together, I asked you to consider, what would it take for you to worship your brother or sister as God? And of course, there is nothing that would convince you, and with good reason. And friends, you're not alone. Because you see, Jesus, he had a brother too, and Jesus' brother's name was James. And during Jesus' lifetime, James was not buying into his brother's claims about being the Son of God. He was not about that life. The fact that Jesus taught and gathered followers around him was not enough to convince James that his brother was the Son of God. The fact that Jesus performed inexplicable miracles was not enough to convince James that his brother was the Son of God. And who can blame him? He was his brother after all. And yet, after Jesus' death on the cross, James appears again in history shortly after. Only this time, he's the leader of the Jesus movement in Jerusalem, not only worshiping his brother as his God, but doing everything he can to convince others to do the same. So, what would it take for you to worship your sibling as your God? Well, perhaps if they predicted their own death and resurrection and pulled it off, it would give you something to think about. Thankfully for you and for everyone else, your sibling is not about to do that. But Jesus did. Jesus did. And as both the historical evidence and personal experience of billions of people around the globe confirms, Jesus did. He rose from the dead, proving that he was who he said he was. The most important question for you, friends, tonight then is this: what would it take for you to worship Jesus as your God? I know that the evidence of the resurrection and the personal experience of knowing Jesus as my friend and my Savior is enough for me. And tonight I'm praying that it will be enough for you too. And so in a few moments, we're going to give you the opportunity to say yes to Jesus. Some of you for the very first time, to invite him into your life and begin to worship him as your God. And some of our hosts, they're going to come up and they're going to help you to do that. But before we do, we're going to listen to a song. This song is called Never Have I Ever, and it's all about how the love of Jesus is the greatest thing that we can ever experience in our lives. So let's listen to this song and think about if we want to say yes to Jesus as our God tonight.
I was running wild, feeling up in a chase. I've been up and down and all over the place, wasting all my days and nights, never feeling satisfied. Putting on a smile, I was keeping it fake, but there's no imitating what I found in your grace. All the things I left behind are shadows, now I see the light. In my head, my soul, my heart, my soul, my heart, my all. I know that I know, no, no, no. Never, never have I ever felt a love so good, so good. Never, never have I ever getting over living with you. Nothing can change it. All I can say is never, never have I ever felt a love so good, so good. Your love is patient, love is kind. Your love is never hard to find. Forever I am yours and you're mine. Alright, alright, oh. Never, never have I ever felt a love so good, so good. Never, never have I ever getting over living with you. Nothing can change it. All I can say is never, never have I ever felt a love so good, so good. Oh, oh. Never have I ever known. Oh, oh. Never have I ever known.
Wow, isn't that awesome? See, we at Lifecentral Youth, we really believe that Jesus is God, and we believe that you can have a personal relationship with God today. No matter who you are, no matter whether you've been into a church, whether you've never been into a church, that God wants to know you personally. And we really believe that life with God is far greater than any life that you could plan for yourself. And so maybe some of what Tim said today stuck with you and impacted you, and you want to do something about that. You want to respond in some way. There is a link that has just been dropped in the chat on YouTube, so you can go to that link and it will send you to a way to get involved with Lifecentral Youth, to hear more about who this Jesus guy is. Because we really believe here at Lifecentral Youth that knowing Jesus will change your life. And you don't have to believe me, you don't have to believe Tim, you don't have to believe Beth, but you can find out for yourself. And so we would love you to click that link. We would love you to find out more. And so right now, if that is you and you want to respond in that way, then Beth is just going to pray for you and with you. And you can say this prayer along with Beth, and she'll lead you through in that way.
Yes, so you can pray this out loud where you are, or you can pray it in your head, but I am just going to pray for us now. Dear Jesus, thank you that you know me and that you love me. Thank you that you came and you walked on this earth and you made such a difference. But not only that, but you died and came to life for me. Sorry for where I have messed up, but thank you that you can give me hope. Today I choose to follow you. Amen.
Amen. And if you said that prayer in your house, we would love you to get in touch. We would love you to click that link and fill out your details and get stuck in. But maybe tonight you didn't want to press any of that. You didn't really want to respond. And that is completely okay too. And if that is you, we would still love for you to hang out with us more, to get involved with Lifecentral Youth, to get involved with Limitless Festival, which is coming up in a week's time or so. We would love to track with you and hang out with you. And so we would love for you to follow our social media, Lifecentral Youth on Instagram, and to get involved with us that way. But we would love for you to join us on Zoom for Crews Hangouts, wouldn't we?
Yes, we would. So in a few minutes, after we've done a couple more things, we are going to wrap up. And then our young people, you guys, are going to be breaking out into Hangouts. And if you're already in a Hangout, then you'll be going to your normal one. But if this is your first time and a friend has invited you along, you are more than welcome to join us tonight. Message your friend and they will give you the Zoom link that you can join, because we'd love to see you with us tonight.
Yeah, so good. And if you've invited a friend, make sure you message us on the Instagram and let us know who that friend is so that we can make sure that you're in the same Hangouts, because it would be a bit awkward if they're in a completely different group to you and you don't see them. So drop us a message, let us know who you've invited, and we would love to see you on Zoom, because Beth is going to be drinking some sriracha sauce.
And so is Harvey, because there were so many comments.
I may join in. We'll see.
Yeah. But before we are wrapping up the night, we want to tell you about an exciting series that is happening over the summer. Now, normally we would do series every Wednesday night in Crews, but over the summer we have got an amazing podcast series that will be coming out on our Lifecentral Youth podcast. It will be launching every single Wednesday on Spotify, so Lifecentral Youth is the place to find it, and you can see on the screen it is the Sex series. This is because we want to help you guys win at relationships in your life. We want you guys to be thinking about this sort of stuff. You'll be hearing from leaders, you'll be hearing experiences. We'll be talking about singleness, we'll be talking about relationships, we'll be talking about breaking up, we'll be talking about all different bits of really great wisdom, and it is going to be spot on and relevant whether you are a Christian or not. So make sure that you are on Spotify, you are checking it out every Wednesday in August, because it is going to be amazing.
Yeah, they are going to be so good. I'm looking forward to that. Make sure you tune into those. They are going to be great. So right now we are finishing on YouTube, but we are not finishing for the night. So we would love you to jump over to Zoom. If you've been with us before, you know how all of that works. If you haven't and a friend invited you tonight, drop them a message, get the link off them, and come and join us on Zoom. We'd love to see you. Or message our Instagram if you haven't got any other way of contacting us, then we would love for you to do that as well. We will see you over on Zoom, but that is us for tonight. See you later.
See you later.